get everyone to take their seats. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the Budget Committee. Tonight is the second part of the public delegations before the committee. We are reconvening from the 9:30 a.m. meeting that we held this morning, and we do have one registered delegation, and I will call from the floor if there are any additional. Are there any new declarations of pecuniary interest? I see none. Very good. Then, before we go any further, just for those who may not have been watching us this morning, any member of the public wishing to speak further regarding an issue on the 2015 Budget Committee agenda may appear before Council at its meeting on March 30th, 2015 at 7 p.m. when the recommendations from this meeting will go forward for final consideration. If you wish to speak as a delegation, please sign the sheet located at the back of the room or notify the Clerk's Department no later than noon the day of the Council meeting. Any PowerPoint presentations must also be forwarded to the Clerk's Department no later than noon the day of the meeting. With that, I've got Jillian Santangeli, the Chair of the Board of Directors of the Oakville Symphony, I believe. Welcome, and you have up to 10 minutes, and we'll have questions for you afterwards as well, I'm sure.
Okay, and it's on here, right? Oh,
and that looks like it right there in front of you.
Okay. So, do you see... Sorry, I'm new to all of this with PowerPoints, but okay. So, as you heard, I'm Jillian Santangeli. You're going to fix that for me, are you?
Come on.
And then to make it go forward,
You could just hit these buttons.
Okay, great. Okay. There we go.
Use yours.
Okay, thank you. And I'm the chair of the Board of Directors of the Oakville Symphony. And I'd like to start by thanking you, Councillor Adams, Mayor Burton, and the rest of the committee for hearing our delegation today. It's an important part of the process to hear comments from the public and interested parties. But I will be brief because you've been at this a while. The Oakville Symphony is your community orchestra. And a community orchestra is different from a professional orchestra in that the bulk of our musicians are volunteers. They're talented amateurs. They are people who maybe have music studios, teach, or just have a love of music and have kept up with it along the way. And they're supplemented by 10 professional musicians that are section leaders in our various sections. So having that big an orchestra, because we're over 80 playing members, and having a really strong schedule where we perform a wide range of symphonic works, we've developed a very strong, dedicated audience. And so we fill the Oakville Centre for Performing Arts for each of our 4 subscription series of concerts. And we do them twice, a Saturday night and a Sunday evening. And with that broad base of support that we have from the community, it allows us to do what we call our outreach program, which is where we go out into the community to let other people know about great symphonic music. And so we do meet the musician in school presentations where one musician will go in and introduce the students to their particular instrument. We do free mini concerts that are along the same lines, and we also do low-cost Christmas and youth concerts, and almost all of them take place at the Oakville Centre for Performing Arts. So we're here today to support the part of the budget that you have in front of you that includes the cultural grants. Now, you'll see if you went through it in detail that the line that includes grants has a small decrease this year, but there's a $1,900 inflation-based increase built in there to the cultural grants program that's administered by the Oakville Arts Council. We'd love to see more, but we understand that you and staff have been working at this for a long time. So really, we're just here to say we support that and to let you know that we would be thrilled to work with town staff and you as you move through your term on council to improve the way that the town can administer and fund their cultural grants program. The arts activities that you do support go a long way to making Oakville the most livable town in Canada. It's an important part of that vision that you have, so that's why we think it's important to support it. But we wanted to let you know how Oakville compares to some other municipalities. The Orchestras Canada organization does what they call a comparative report every year. And so we pulled out budgets from comparable community orchestras. We didn't compare ourselves to professional orchestras. And the municipalities that fund them through municipal and regional grants. So you can see that the top is Orchestra Toronto, which probably isn't surprising. They're a well-known community group and they're in Toronto, so they should have the benefit of lots of funding. But we also compared it on a percentage of their total budget. So interestingly, Scarborough funds their community symphony to a higher percentage. And unfortunately, when you scroll down to the bottom, Oakville placed last on dollar value and percentage of budget. So that's something we would like to work towards changing over the term of your office. And the way it was originally set up when the symphony's in its 48th season, and for the bulk of that, we have been doing our performances at the Oakville Centre for Performing Arts. And when we started getting grant funding from the town, it was essentially a circular grant. And it was intended that we would get a grant, we would pay rent to the Oakville Centre, which basically was in the amount of the grant, and so it would just go around and everybody would be flat. Currently, our funding amounts have dropped through the Oakville Arts Council, and our rent has increased to the net amount that we pay you $53,000 a year now. So it makes me wonder, is Oakville the only municipality to make a profit off of its community orchestra? But in spite of that, we are committed to being an anchor tenant at the Oakville Centre for Performing Arts. We feel that it's important that we add to the vibrancy of not only the cultural facility that's there, but also the downtown core. Because in my personal opinion, that's what makes Oakville unique. So it's something that we're committed to doing in spite of the funding gap. We bring over 5,000 people, our audience members, to the Oakville Centre for Performing Arts each season, and that is also important to the people who come to our concerts. So we are committed to being part of the downtown cultural hub, and in fact, we're involved in the focus group and the study that's ongoing that you've been hearing about. So to conclude, the financial stability of the Oakville Symphony is an important ingredient in the downtown cultural hub study and in making Oakville the most livable town in Canada. So we're looking for, if you do have to make cuts to the budget in areas, please don't do it to the arts funding. And we look forward to working with the town and the council so that we can improve the funding situation and get the cultural hub going and a new center and all of those good things that you're going to be doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Councillor DeMoff?
Thanks for coming out.
You're welcome.
Do you apply, or is there an ability to get any regional grants? I noticed that your list for other municipalities, it was municipal and regional grants. So I just wondered if you've ever, or if there was anything that you could apply for regionally.
Well, it's interesting because in going through the list, that was the light bulb that went on for us as well. I don't know. We'll look into it. There aren't many other community orchestras in Halton region, so it's certainly worth asking the question of the region. The reason that they call it municipal and regional grants in that heading is that some of the orchestras are in areas that have a municipal type of government and some have a regional type of government and some get funding from both, and so they just lumped it all together and separated it out from provincial funding, which we also get a grant for as well.
Okay, and then I have a question for staff. Our rent, is that making a profit or are we just covering our costs?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, we offer a nonprofit rate.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's not truly a profit, but it is an inflow that we contribute to.
And do you get that through other grants and through your subscriptions? Is that how you, where else does your funding come from, I guess?
So we have ticket sales, donations, we participate in the bingo, so we run bingos, and we have sponsors from various corporations in Oakville.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any others? Thank you very much. We
Thank
do
you.
appreciate that. Now, we've got a copy electronically of your presentation, and we can make sure that that gets passed around to the other members.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much again. Much appreciated. Are there other members, that's the end of our registered delegations. Are there other members of the public here who'd like to speak tonight? Any other members who wish to provide information to us? No? Just watching? Okay. Then, members of committee, I think that completes the delegations for this evening. Are there any other comments or any other information or any other materials that you'd like us to consider in preparation for the 23rd? Councillor O'Meara?
Thanks, Chair Adams. I'm just would like to discuss on the 23rd at deliberations. Maybe it's just to refer to staff. I would like to discuss the placing of the Wycroft extension on the agenda for deliberations, and if staff might be prepared to bring forth how we could look at putting that on the 10-year forecast plan this fall. That would be great.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Perhaps what we'll do is prepare some wording to allow it to be referred to the consideration within the 10-year forecast.
That'd be
Would that
perfect.
appropriate?
Thank you.
Okay. Any others? Councillor Elgar?
I just wonder, the active transportation master plan of cycle lanes for 2015, if we get a few more details on that.
Is that a question of a referral of funding within the ATMP within the 10-year forecast? Is that what you
Yes,
mean?
yeah, I'm just looking at what we have in for 2015 budget.
Okay, so I know
Just
that we have, in the past, within the 10-year forecast, had planned funding across every year in the order of $600,000 to $700,000, if memory serves me correctly off the top of my head. And what I might propose is that we have a referral of the issue of ATMP funding needs to both the 2016 budget and the 10-year capital forecast, so that we can have a proper report within the next cycle of the budget for consideration whether we have adequate funding in it.
Yeah, I guess,
that-
and for 2015, it's 381,000.
There's two parts. There's the ATMP funding and there's also the renewal funding
Yeah,
within
I'm
the
looking at
infrastructure.
the growth section.
That's right. So you need to look at for the total value of our capital funding within active transportation. There are two elements of it. One is the growth funding, which you're looking at. And there's another source of funding, which is within the infrastructure renewal funding. So when you add those together, that's where you get the $600,000 to $700,000. So is that what you're looking for, Councillor Elgar? Is a referral?
Just wanted to
like
get
that?
more of a breakdown in the details.
Oh, of what projects are within that?
Yes, in the
Oh, okay.
2015 growth section.
Can staff comment on that tonight, or is that something that you want to have our engineering staff bring back the list of projects that are within that funding envelope?
We don't have the list with us tonight, but we'll bring it back for deliberations.
Okay. Any others? Okay, I think that concludes us then for this meeting. So members of public, you should be aware then that once we adjourn tonight, the next meeting will be on Monday, March 23rd at 9:30. We will then be looking at a deliberation of the materials that we've seen so far and make a recommendation to council. That recommendation will be considered on March 30th by council for passing by the entire council. Members of the committee, could I get a motion then to move that the presentations from delegations regarding the 2015 operating capital budget be received? Thank you, Councillor O'Meara. All those in favor? That is carried. And we are now fully concluded, and I will adjourn our meeting. We'll see you then on the 23rd, everybody.